Hello everyone. We are back with the next episode of Programmatic Podcast. Today with Mr. Afroz, and he is currently working with Cybage Software, and he primarily looks after the DV360 operations over there. Hello Afroz, and welcome to the
Hi.
podcast. And thank you very much for giving your valuable time for this podcast and sharing your valuable inputs regarding DV360.
No problem. Thanks
And
for having me, Wats. It's good to be here around to other programmatic folks and connect and build networks. Yeah, so it's all good.
yes, we'll start with the first question of this programmatic podcast. That what is your personal background?
Sure. So I'm based out of Hyderabad. I did my graduation in engineering and information technology. And right from the beginning, I was fascinated, into the world of technology and digital innovation. So these things always built enthusiasm in me. So I used to, start a blog and do some blogging over there and, try to figure out what's going on in the world of internet. That's how I figured out digital marketing. And then, the first thing that I did was join a startup. Although I was placed in a very good company like Amazon, I started with my career with a startup wherein I had to build the website from scratch and also do e-commerce for them. So until then, I had no idea how to drive sales, but then I figured it out all by myself and drove conversions to them using Facebook and Google Ads. And from there, I took my career over and joined Amazon. Like they had sponsored ads going on back then. So it was in the pilot stage. So I joined Amazon and then worked there and learned a lot of things, how it goes with the seller's perspective, how what sellers want and what do they, uh, advertise there for. And I got an offer to join Accenture, and there within a span of 1 year, I was able to become a trainer and train a people of 25. And I was working with Google Ad Manager back then. So it's quite surprising because it was SSP side, and then right now I'm into the DSP side. So kind of like have the overview of both the side of the river. So that's there. And then the process itself got transitioned into Google Operations. Google Operations took that over, and then so I stayed there and worked on a bunch of different tools like SA360, BV360, Google Ad Manager. Got exposure to all of those, and eventually, right now, I'm working with Cybage Software, wherein I work with uh, top five, world's top five agencies and the bigger brands that you might already know, like they are into food and beverages. So I handle their programmatic space, and that's how it's going. Yeah,
So you are basically an engineer by your academic
correct.
background. Okay,
Yes,
and which branch?
it was information technology.
Information technology. Like from engineering
Yes,
background, and after building and developing the websites and managing the e-commerce operations, and then
right,
transitioning to a programmatic landscape, and from the supply
correct,
side to transitioning to the demand side. So you have come a long way since then.
correct.
And
Yes, yes.
how many years that you have been working in this programmatic landscape?
It's been it's been close to 7 years now, the whole of it, and into programmatic, it's been 3 to 4 years. Yeah.
Okay. And why did you chose programmatic as a career? It happened just by accident, or you planned to move into this domain?
Right. So things in life work like in the algorithm works in the digital space, right? You have
Yeah.
Facebook, you have Instagram, and the algorithm, whatever you show interest in, life takes you there. Like the application takes you there. Similarly, kind of believe in real life too. Like if we explore something, if you show enthusiasm towards something, the life kind of takes you there. The algorithm kind of drives you there. So I did not have anything in mind specific while getting started, but then things got into place, and that's how I know I went into programmatic space. Yeah.
So when you
Eventually,
were
the major aspect of it was how to drive sales.
right,
Yeah,
so when you are working with Google Ad Manager, with which company you are working?
it was with Accenture.
Okay, Accenture only. Okay. So you
Correct.
were in which department? You were in technical troubleshooting and all, or GAM?
Yeah, yes, yes. I mean, the Google was the client, and we were the vendors. Like Accenture was the vendor part of it, and
Okay,
we
so
had
you
to,
were part of
manage
that
all their
publisher support.
operations. Correct, correct. And specifically, there was a team which would only handle uh, video inventory, which was dynamic ad insertion. So I was part of that team. That product in and itself was something new. The streams that we are all noticing right now, the ESPN streams, the live stream that happens on YouTube, all of that, is server side, uh, server side advertising. Like that happens at the Google server, and it's fascinating to see how it goes in real time. So I was working on that. Yeah.
Right. So moving on to the next question. So I would like to ask you that how does your day-to-day work look like in like programmatic advertising, especially now you are a part of that demand side. So how does your day starts with, and what kind of challenges you face?
Right. So majorly it would depend on the challenges that the advertiser is, focusing on. Let's say if the advertiser wants to uh, get his inventory on Spotify or get his inventory on a certain publisher, then we'd have to, reach out to them and get it fixed, get the CPMs in place. And also on top of that, build media strategy. Like more of, I'm working on the strategy side right now. I create uh, I look into their specifications, what they require, at what stage their campaigns are right now, and based on that, do they require an awareness campaign, or do they require a brand lift study campaign, or do they require any conversion campaign? So based on that, I would, inculcate that media plan into their uh, like based on their scenario, and then work on it. And also I would take care of the day-to-day work, like the setup. The associates would be working on the setup, and the ad ops team would be taking care of the trafficking, and also the reporting part of it is done by the reporting team. So I make sure that everything is in place and going smoothly. Yeah.
And so, like in a nutshell, that you are trying to drive the KPIs of the advertisers to an optimum level.
Correct,
Okay.
correct, that's right. Yeah.
And like you use currently DV360 for doing all this optimization.
Correct. Yeah.
What is the process of like bidding through DV60? Is it ad inventory wise, publisher wise, or is it through like above the fold or below the fold locations?
Right. So when it comes to DV360, you have specific require like functionalities available at the campaign level. First thing is that you can either advertise your inventory on open auction, or the programmatic guaranteed or private marketplace. And also, like you mentioned, once we go get into either programmatic marketplace or open auction, then again you would have the option to choose the fold, like if it is above the fold or if it's below the fold. So let's say the advertiser is interested in open auction. He wants to advertise throughout the open auction, then he can choose that. And if he's only willing to advertise above the fold, then he for sure has the option to do that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And you said that there is no option of like bidding for particular ad slots. You have to bid only for two locations, whether it is up above the fold or below the fold.
Like for video as well, we would have the option like pre-roll, mid-roll, or post-roll. So yeah, that we can explore all those options. Basically, we first we would do is we would choose all the placements available first at first, and then once the campaign goes on for like 10 days, we try to analyze which placement is looking well, and then further optimize it from there. Yeah,
And how do you know that what kind of CPM is working well for you when you are bidding for a particular publisher? Because you are not aware
right,
of the CPMs which the publisher is fixed on the
correct.
UPRs.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. That's one of the question my like colleagues or people in the team or clients come up with all the time. So the best possible way to figure out this is there's an inventory forecast tool available in DV360 UI. That is one thing. So over there you can input whatever targeting options that you want to go for. The publisher, even choosing a publisher is possible over there. Like what kind of publisher might give what results, that is possible to check over there. So that is one thing to do. Input all your targeting options, choosing the publisher, and then it will show you the CPM. But then at times what I've noticed is that doesn't always align. That isn't always accurate. So what I would suggest is first go with automated bidding strategy and run the campaign for like 5 days or a week, and then you will get to know once, since it is set to automatic bidding, the impressions, the CPM, and all the metrics that uh, are possible, like that would be, you will have access to that data. So once you have that access to data, you can from there take it over. Like let's say if you've ran the campaign for about 1 week, and then you've noticed that the CPM was around 4.5. So from that you can take away that the CPM could be around the range of 4.5. So yeah, that's how you can take it. Yeah,
Okay, okay. Fine. So, like you said that there are two kind of biddings available. One is the open option bidding, and second is programmatic guaranteed. So that programmatic
correct,
guaranteed bidding is subjective. That if the publisher accepts your proposal, or there is a negotiation happening from the
correct.
publisher side, once you send the
That's
proposal,
right.
then
Yeah,
okay. Fine. So that is based on the negotiation between you and the publisher,
correct, correct.
where you have to
Uh,
crack the deal
It can,
from the
yes,
advertiser
it
side.
can happen offline as well. It doesn't need to be through RFP. It can happen offline. Yeah, that is true.
Yes, because there you need DV360 ID and you can also communicate via
Correct.
mails once you have got
That's
the
right.
contacts. Okay.
Yeah,
So moving on to the next question, I would like to ask you that uh, they does DV360 has different rules for YouTube advertising bidding? You said that there are pre-roll, mid-roll, and post-roll available.
right. For YouTube advertising, when it comes to DV360, you can also advertise it through Google Ads, but then the difference majorly would be that you would have all the advertising channels at one place if you choose DV360. That's one thing. And then under one campaign, under an umbrella, you can have multiple channels. Like you can use YouTube, you can use video and display.
Okay.
That is one advantage of it. Other than that, at the campaign level, you can set the frequency. So in Google Ads, if you would want to control the frequency of all the different channels like display, video, and YouTube, you wouldn't have that option. In DV360 at campaign level, if you, for example, set the frequency to 6 per week, then it applies to all the channels in that campaign. That is there. And one thing when it comes to Google Ads, you wouldn't have the option to pull a placement level reporting for YouTube. But when it comes to DV360, you have that additional option to see which placements are working fine. Yeah, that's one
Google
advantage
Ads,
again.
Google Ads has certain limitations while doing
Correct.
advertising on YouTube, but DV360 gives you
Yes.
flexibility of micro reporting
correct.
on every aspect of shooting.
That's right. Yeah.
And can you run roadblock campaigns also on YouTube ad slots for that any particular channel, or is it possible to do
Uh,
that PGDs?
roadblock. Yes, yes, you have an option of YouTube Select. Earlier it was called with some other name. Right now it's YouTube Select, wherein you get to advertise with a specific publisher or specific channel on YouTube. That is there. Yeah.
Okay, it's good to know. And like currently, how is the advertising scenario as well as the global scenario. So like what
Right.
kind of basic problems you are the advertisers are facing, because you must be working with hundreds of advertisers currently and optimizing their
Right.
campaigns. So because as
Right.
a publisher, I am from a supply side platform, so I can
Correct.
see the revenue dip in like almost all aspects, or whether it is on app or website. So I have seen a revenue dip of around 30%. So from you are
Right.
from advertiser side, so I would like to ask you that what kind of demand advertisers are giving currently, and what has changed in the last 3 or 4 months that this has happened, and there is a very sharp fall in the CPMs which we were getting 3 or 4 months back,
Right.
because till Fab it was good, till Fab 2023,
Right.
but from March onwards, once the that bank crashed in US, what was the name? A
Right.
Signature Bank, and after
Right.
that it has been a regular fall
Yes.
only. So
Dip and
what is
dip
the
again. Yeah. True. So yes, coming to like I think there were two questions, like coming to the challenges that the advertisers face. I would say the major challenge is the brand safety and viewability and also ad fraud. These three things are the major things, and of course the metrics and results. But then the major thing would be when it comes to advertiser, he doesn't want to give up on his brand. He wants to protect his brand at any cost. For example, if it's Volkswagen, they do not want to place their ads on a website which talks about which is not in line with their brand, or if it's uh, somewhere doesn't give a good impression of their brand. That is one thing. Brand safety is first thing. uh, if it's serving on the alcohol website or on the gambling sites, it doesn't give a good impression to the Volkswagen brand. So brand safety is the major thing that they would consider. And I think advertisers find it challenging to rely on publishers directly with this. So what they would do is use a third party tracking tool like IAS, double verify, to make sure the brand safety is in place, and they don't advertise on some website wherein the brand safety is at stake. And also viewability also matters to advertisers. Let's say the same brand Volkswagen wants to advertise on a certain website, but then the website, the ad slots are not showing a good viewability. The ad positioning of the ad units is not correct. It's not accurate for the user to browse. Then the viewability would not be good, which would result in a bad viewability percentage, which, although impression is counted, but the ads that were viewed by the user were not complete. They looked at only 20% of the ad unit slot. So that hampers their advertisement. Also, one last thing would be the ad fraud. Like a few of the publishers, not all of them, I would say a few of them also manipulate the number of impressions and things like that. So uh, advertisers don't want to waste their money. They want to make sure every penny
how
that
these
they
numbers
spend.
are manipulated? Are they using any kind of software which is inflating the number of impressions showing on the GAM dashboard and all?
What they would do is use ad bots or things like that, the scripts which run in the background, which will run in itself in the background, increasing the number of impressions. So that is not the actual user who is browsing the website. Those are the
Talking about
bots or
bot
crawlers.
impressions.
Yes, correct. Yes.
So
So
I
one
have
more
met.
thing.
Yeah, please.
Yes, go on.
No, I have met two or three companies who are specializing in data management platform for third party like data and first
Right.
party data. So they were offering us some proposition for removing the bot impressions from our site, which
Okay.
is
Right.
really, I don't know that unless and until the publisher does something in this regard, how is it possible that from advertiser side also bot impressions are sub? Is it possible?
Yes, yes, it is possible. Yeah. Like the tools that I mentioned, IAS and Double Verify. Double Verify is owned by Google itself, and IAS is also a very good third-party tool, third-party tracking tool. So, like I mentioned, they would protect the brand value, brand safety earlier. Like you would have. Uh, so, what basically the advertiser can do is uh, get the tracked ad tags mapped into the third party tracker so that whenever the ad call comes up, they would first go to the third party tracker, the website, and then in their server it would be mentioned like what impressions to avoid. The filters would be placed in position. So these filters would also include the brand safety elements like do not serve on alcohol content, do not serve on gambling website, do not serve on the child website where the children are browsing, and also it would have the mechanism or the algorithm to identify ad fraud. They would have data in and out, right? So they would understand how to work on it. They're also leveraging AI to do this. IAS is, I think, using leveraging AI to figure out the ad fraud, and that's how they filter it out. So also at the advertisers end, you would have the, you know, uh, functionality to avoid it. So that's a great thing. Uh,
So does Cybage Software also use such kind of tools for preventing ad frauds?
Yes, yes. Some of our teams use IAS and some clients prefer double verify. So depending on the on like requirement, we use them. And also one more thing is like let's say the publisher sends you out a report saying that these many impressions have been uh, accumulated. Like in one over the last 30 days, 1 million impressions were counted for. In the third party tool, you would also have an option to pull a report, like how many actual impressions were counted. So therein you can see the pass rate. Pass rate specifies how many of the out of all the 1 million impressions that the publisher is claiming, how many of them passed in the test, like they did not get filtered out. So the brands would expect the pass rate to be around 95 plus, so that only five there's a slight chance of possibility of error in that 5%. So yeah,
So
that is how.
how do you as an advertiser, how do you deploy such tracking tools via click macros or the third party trackers which you provide to the publishers for running the campaigns? So how do you actually
Right.
monitor this?
Right. So when it comes to IAs, what you'd have to do is you'd need a seat ID over there. You'd need to have an account over there. And once you create an ad tag in, like, let's say you are creating a placement for an ad in DV360. So for
Okay.
that placement, you would be relying on CM360 to create that placement, right? So
Yes.
the CM360 placement, which gets synced into DV360. So that is how we run the ads. So
Yeah.
that particular ad placement or ad tag, you can import it into IAS and then download a different, the wrapped version of that particular tag. IAS would give you the wrapped version. It will
Okay.
take that DV360 tag and wrap it, and then you can download it. And then you'd have to push it back into DV360 again so that the tag is wrapped. And whenever the ad call comes, that tracker would come into place, like it would function. Yeah,
Okay. So this way you ensure that the impressions received are
correct,
authentic. So that is
correct.
something new
Yes,
which I have also learned because sometimes we also get trackers from
yeah,
various third party sources and all. and then we
right,
try to understand that how this thing actually works. So you said that about the two tools, about IAS and double verify, which help in building up a wrapper around the tag which you create via CM360, and then which is like derived via
correct.
360. So, like
That's right,
for viewers, it is very important, like from a publisher point of view as well as from an advertiser point of view, that you need to have the impressions authenticated via a third-party tool, because it is also about your own brand
right,
reputation. You are running a campaign or
correct,
any advertising campaign on your like site or app. So, if you give actual return on investment to the advertiser after you run the campaign in terms of actual impressions served, then it will also help you in the long run. And the inventory is also
correct,
flagged as a premium inventory if such things like are
correct.
happening only via publisher. And if more and more fraud
That's true.
ads or bot based impressions are served, that publisher ad inventory gets black flagged, and because of that there is less demand available for that publisher ad inventory. So that needs to be kept in
Correct,
mind when you are like putting your ad inventory on sale. So that is like applicable for
correct.
each and every publisher available in the market. So
Yes, that's
moving
true.
on to the next question. So I would like to ask you that currently, what is the most sought option of advertising for the advertisers? Like you have multiple channels now. Like previously, like 6 to 7 years back, you had websites, then came the apps, and after apps, now you have CTV, OTT, DOOH. So such kind of publisher properties
Correct.
also available, and the websites and apps in the last 2 years after the COVID have mushroomed. Like earlier, we were having only 100 apps. Now we have 1,000 apps in the same
That's
category,
true.
and websites also. There are like thousand of websites available in the same category. So now the
That's right.
demand and supply flow has been greatly disrupted because of this issue. And you have other options
Correct.
also available. As an advertiser, you are saying that I have a niche audience available for DOH, which is generally advertising on airports, on some railway stations also, and in some societies also. Then CTV and OTT,
Right.
like everybody is currently like moved on from that DTH to CTV and OTT
Correct.
platforms. That is also creating another kind of niche audience. So, how do you think that how this thing is getting sought by the advertisers, especially the premium, the major advertising chunk?
Right. So when it comes to advertisers, they're always curious to figure out different ways to advertise on. So they don't hold back. Like let's say a new option comes up, they would want to immediately leverage it. That's how, although a lot of apps are coming up, but advertisers making the most out of it. Earlier, we wouldn't have the CTV option. Like once we got the CTV advertising channel to run the ads on, the advertisers for sure leveraged it. They did not think of it like, we already have display banners and a video which are working fine. They always want to multiply the revenue, so they want to take chances to figure out which inventory is working on. So I think that is something that the advertiser doing currently also. Like or the major advertisers, the bigger ones, what I've noticed is they would first give you hand it out a budget plan. Like let's say 1 million per month, $1 million per month is their budget. So what they would do is they would hand that budget over to the inventory planner or the strategy team and ask them what could be possible to make the most out of all the channels. Is it possible to leverage through DOOH, or is it too early? Or do you want us to like advertise on CTV as well? Do you want to reduce the spend on display or video? So this is something that the advertisers are already, uh, at least the bigger ones, they are already, handling this challenge. And then when it comes to the planner, the strategy, team, they have to make sure like to leverage which ones work better. So if you have the option to run on CTV display all the channels, then you can, leverage the budget and first see how the results are. And then for example, if you're running a campaign for about 3 months, the flight duration is of 3 months, then in July, what you have to do is spend on all the campaigns, like plan the budget accordingly and spend it all across all the channels. And then in the month of August, analyze which one performed well and which is not in line with the advertiser's goals or it's not meeting the metrics. Then reduce it and make changes to it accordingly. And then in August, plan it that way. So that, all the channels can be leveraged and yeah, that's how I would recommend. Yeah,
Saying that in the presence of like multiple advertising options, so advertisers are like micro segmenting their budget
correct.
towards in every platform. That increases
That's
your
right.
work also. In that case, suppose you were having only two publisher options available in terms of website and app,
Right.
then your work was much easier than what you are currently doing. It makes your work more challenging to dedicate the budgets
That's
towards
right.
the most optimum kind of publishing channels available, and as per the advertiser demand also what kind of advertising segment the advertiser is in. So there's such kind of things also affect the KPIs which you have been given to
Correct.
achieve from the advertiser point of view. So do you have any
Correct.
the what I can say, do you have any goals like towards like achieving those APIs? Does it affect your appraisals and all if you are not able to convert those goals?
Uh, ac- that that is being taken care of. Like mostly since we have everything in place, the like we have a process for QA, we have a process for setting it up, the process documentation, and everything in place, so that all also after the launch of the campaign, you have a QA set of QA that needs to be done. So this will ensure that everything goes smooth. Like although there are chances of errors here and there, but then I would recommend to have such a system in place so that the errors are minimized. For example, one recommendation that I would want to give to the beginner programmatic uh, uh, like analysts is to create a template of the campaign uh, at the campaign level. For example, let's say the advertiser might want to advertise on all the channels, correct? So what he can do, what the programmatic person can do is create a template wherein all the insertion orders are included in it. Display, video, uh, YouTube, and DOOH, CTV, everything is already built. All the settings, the audiences are added, the viewability is set, the position is set, the age group is set, everything is set, so that when it comes to launching a new campaign, you just have to duplicate that campaign and use it for the setup. So that way, like you mentioned earlier, it would become a hectic task of setting it up now that they want it on all the campaigns, all the channels. But this way, it would reduce your work. You can just duplicate the existing campaign, and then use it to set up the new one. So that's in place. And when it comes to appraisals, yeah, I think it would matter because let's say, like the feedback that you receive from the client majorly matters. That is the like although you made a lot of errors, but the your impact with the client is positive, and your client is appreciating your work, then it's all well and good because errors do happen. Like there were people in the organization who were like in the past organizations as well. Like they were a very good tech guys, but then although they were very tech savvy, errors did happen. So errors will definitely happen, but then the impact to the client that you're giving, that would majorly matter. You should build a good relationship with the client. Although they are just advertisers and they want us to do on specific set of tasks, you must build rapport and connect with them. Uh, so that is something that I do personally, and it works out really well. Yeah,
Yeah, so from an advertiser point of view, you people make sure that there is a possibility of no zero error from your side, but like
correct,
humans can make error sometimes inadvertently. They are
correct,
not planned it, but sometimes error happens, so that you need to like keep in mind while delivering any kind of campaign. And as you also said that
right,
before setting up a campaign, you can also look out for the templates or any kind of prototype campaign which you have already set up for the previous advertisers, or any kind of campaign which
that's
is
right,
similar to the campaign which you are setting up. So that will help you to
correct,
reduce the setting up time for the advertisement which is being planned to run. So
that's
that
right,
is a good way of optimization of the campaigns from an advertiser point of view, which saves your time as
correct,
well as the effort. And there is less
yeah,
scope of error also from your side in that
that's right,
case.
yeah,
So, next question is that how do you see the future of programmatic advertising? Because in this era of Chat GPT and all, I think programmatic is much more ahead. In that case, I think most of the things are automated, but you need to set up all the things as per the demand of the advertisers and the publisher domain. So, how do you think
correct.
how the future of programmatic is going to be?
That's definitely a hustle for sure. I think everything is evolving, so you have to also evolve, kind of like get adapted to the new changes that are happening in the technology space and leverage them rather than getting, afraid of what could happen, what could go wrong. Try to think, what could I possibly make out of this tool? This did not exist earlier. So now that I have this tool, how can I leverage this to make the most out of it? How can I make more revenue out of it? How can I improve the metrics? How can I standardize the optimization process? If you are after these things, then you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry like if the AI or ChatGPT will take over the jobs, because like it these things definitely happen. Like when you look back in history as well, like invention of the internet, the era of internet, the 20th century, it made a lot of things automated. Like you wouldn't that was a drastic change, right? People could go and think that now my offline store is gone now, like the only e-commerce or the websites would work. But then things have evolved. You kind of leverage that traffic which is coming from the internet and do the things which are right at that stage. So that is what I think should be done. And that way, we wouldn't have any uh, challenges to face. Yeah. Rather than, fearing it, we should leverage it.
Yes, yes, yes. So it is better to embrace the change rather than avoiding it.
Correct. That's
So,
right. Yeah.
moving on to the last and the most important question that many people ask me. There are people who are from the supplier side, and there are people from demand side like you. So, there is always a knowledge gap happening. Like people who are in supply side, they don't know much about the demand side. But, demand side people are
Right.
generally know about the supply side too. So,
Right.
can you suggest some basic questions which generally the programmatic advertising professionals or the people who are willing to join programmatic should prepare for, and what kind of certifications they should do in order to ace in the interviews on an entry level in programmatic?
Right. So when it comes to the certifications, you can go with the standard ones which Google has already. You can get certified from DV360 on CAM, and also like kind of whatever is possible, you can get certified to make sure you don't get questioned by the interviewers. So you must have all of those in place. And when it comes to learning, so what I would like the questions you mentioned about the questions which would be frequently asked, right? Uh, Interesting. Let me recall a few. What the major portion of the questions would be on optimization, because that's how they would know if you have really worked on it, you really know things, how things work in it. Because how to set up, how things work, everything can be, uh, learned by theory, but then when it comes to practicality, you must know how optimization works. So what they would ask is, let's say you have a skippable YouTube ad. How do you what strategy do you use and how do you optimize it? So you would use CPV for a skippable YouTube ad. You don't go with CPM. CPM only you work with CPM KPI only on YouTube bumper. So things like these, the nitty-gritties, like the small details, they would catch you there. So what I would suggest is to actually learn the whole of it. Don't just theoretically uh, go with the certifications, because certifications, they are, I think they are very easy to crack. You can I believe 90% of the people in the market have certifications, but that
Right, right,
is not the only thing, yeah, that helps. If that would have helped, then every one of them would be placed. But then the major key factor is to know how things work in the details, and like optimization would be the one thing, and reporting. Like how do you pull up on YouTube audience report? This could be a question, and uh, how do you set up a programmatic guaranteed campaign? How private auction works? How does open inventory, the real-time bidding in open inventory work? Things like these, like how does brand lift study work? How many minimum impressions or minimum budget is required for a brand lift study? These type of questions is something that I would suggest to go with. And also, there are a very few videos. Like I think you also have a channel wherein you explain videos, right? How the UI looks like and how to take care of it. I think you have explained it for GAM. Similarly, I would suggest to take on these videos wherein you get to see the app, the UI. I know that it's very difficult to get access because it's a very premium tool, and for freshers or people with just 2 3 years of experience, it's really difficult to get access. But then at least try to leverage what's already there. Uh, so for this specific reason, I just created a random group in Facebook wherein I wanted to, help people who have questions with DV360 and discuss things around that. But then I noticed that around 200 plus people have joined it, like within a span of 1 to 2 months. And therein
okay,
I gave a lot of tips as well. And I have given out a specific, like, I think it was for about 3 days, a free course. I did not charge anything. I have the videos recorded and showed them how UI looks like, because everyone will teach you the theory part, but when it comes to
right.
practical, nobody will give you that access. So I kind of show the practical side of it in the group. Like if there's someone who wants to learn DV360, they can join that group. I'll maybe share the link of the URL in
You
description
can
link
share it
maybe
in
with
the
you, and
video
then
itself.
sure.
Okay. So,
I have an
it was
option in the
great
chat.
having
Yeah,
you today. Yeah, please. What are you
right.
saying?
I think I have
What
an
will
option of chat over here, right? Wherein I can
not here.
paste it.
Once I upload the video on my
Right,
YouTube channel,
for
then you
sure.
can provide a link to me. Then I will give it in the
Yes,
introduction part itself. So for viewers,
correct.
I would like to say that Afroz has his own Facebook group where he is imparting information, valuable information, as well as the dashboard related information of DV360, which is not majorly available on any kind of platform. So you can join the group over there. I will be providing you the link in the video, which will be shared with you. And thank you very much, Afroz, for sharing your valuable insights regarding the demand side. And I also came
No
to know
problem.
regarding many things which I was not aware of, because I am also from the supply side, and it is
Right.
very good to know and understand the things. And for viewers' point of view, what Afroz was emphasizing upon was that it is important to understand the process behind the advertising, rather than mugging
Correct.
up every theoretical part of DV360. If you really want to go or join a programmatic advertising company, it is important to understand the process, how actually the things work for an advertiser and for a publisher point of view. So you need to understand these things in detail, and Mr. Afroz has already shared so many valuable inputs, which you can go through the video and understand the things particularly. And I will be sharing the link also for the Facebook group which Afroz has. So thank you, Afroz, for your valuable time, and
No problem.
and to see more of such interactions happening in future also. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. It was good to be a part of this. Thanks.
Welcome.